and it's been absolutely fantastic. And we look forward to today's session on Spark Post and InDesign, and we look forward to next year's sessions with Tim too.
Thank you, Cindy. It's been a fantastic journey this year, introducing Adobe tools to a whole lot of South Australian Department for Education teachers, and it has been a great pleasure to see so many of them take up the opportunity and to go ahead and then share what they've been learning to their students and their colleagues, which is what this is all about. Now, this session is about Spark Post and InDesign, which are two desktop publishing solutions within the realm of the Adobe Creative Cloud. I was fascinated to get a notification from the Age newspaper in Melbourne, where I'm based, to say that there have been 16 COVID cases in South Australia today. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, how come that was recorded and notified to us in Melbourne when we've had over 1,000 cases and I had to go and hunt for that information? Interesting, isn't it? All the different perspectives from the different states and how we're all managing all of this. Anyway, that is the way we're in. It's great to be opened up, and it's great that South Australia is now opened up to Victoria, and hopefully next year I'll be able to come and visit some of you guys face to face and do some training within your schools, which I'm looking forward to doing. I used to do that a lot before COVID hit. Now, for those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Tim Kitchen. I'm Adobe's Senior Education Specialist for the Asia Pacific region, and I was a school teacher for 23 years before doing this role. I started this role about 8 years ago. So do the maths, that's how old I am. Let's jump into the first little clip. Some of you would have seen this before. That just gives you an overview of Adobe in education. Adobe's industry standard tools like Illustrator, Premiere Pro, X, Animate, InDesign and Dreamweaver are vital for media, IT and arts educators in K-12 and tertiary classrooms across the globe. But these days there are a growing number of simple to use tools like Spark Video for quick and simple video stories, Spark Post for digital posters and social graphics, Spark Page for quick web pages that Adobe will host for you, Aero for augmented reality experiences, Acrobat DC for PDF manipulation, Adobe XD, a design thinking tool for designing, prototyping, and sharing the designs of apps and websites, Dimension for making 3D models, Rush for powerful video editing on your mobile and desktop devices, Fresco, which is the ultimate drawing tool for the iPad and Surface Pro, Photoshop for the iPad, the new Photoshop camera, Character Animator for real-time animation, the new Illustrator on the iPad app, and more. These apps are being used by maths and science educators, English and humanities teachers, law professors, health and physical education teachers, and in any K-12 or tertiary curriculum area that is looking to add an extra level of engagement and creativity into the learning and teaching process. Get to know these apps through the Adobe Education Exchange, which is getting close to 1 million members across the globe with a wide variety of new, free online self-paced courses and resources for educators. The Adobe Education Exchange is made by teachers for teachers. It's a great way to learn how and why Adobe tools are so beneficial in all curriculum areas. It is also the gateway to the new Adobe Creative Educator program, which is a badging program designed for any educator in any curriculum area and level. You don't have to be an Adobe expert to be an Adobe Creative Educator. We do hope you enjoyed this session. Please do share what you learned today with your colleagues and wider education networks. Use this QR code or link if you would like to follow up anything that was presented during this session, or if you would like to join the Australasian Adobe in Education monthly news update. Enjoy this session. Okay, so that gives you a bit of a summary of how our tools are being used in education, and you'll find that the Creative Cloud set of applications is actually centrally available to all Victorian and New South Wales government schools. They've seen that it's important for every student to have access to these tools to give them the opportunities to develop skills that are used in all sorts of industries in the future. Every other system around Australia and New Zealand and into Southeast Asia has a different approach where the schools own the ability to be able to purchase and manage all of their own software. So that's, looks like Julie's having some issues there. Hopefully it's just Julie. Let me know if there are some other issues. So what was probably likely in your situation is that your school has to go and make a decision to invest in the Creative Cloud. And some do and some don't. And so that's a decision that your school has probably already taken up. That's why you're here at this session now, to make the most of those applications. Now the Spark tools, that's slightly different because they're totally free. They're free for anybody. There's an education version of Spark, so that anyone, even under the age of 13, can access, and they get access to the full version of Spark. And then there's the free version of Spark, which anyone over 13 can access without needing to purchase anything at all. And if you want to know more about the education side of Spark, your IT people need to use what's called the Adobe Admin Console to register your users so that your under 13s can log in with their school account, and everything's housed within the school environment. Because if they are 13 or over and then log in with Google, Facebook, Apple, or an Adobe ID, well, everything is not housed within their school environment and their personal information is going outside of the school. So it's really important that your school registers your students with the free version of Spark, so everything's kept within house. And that's what we're going to encourage you to be working with today in terms of Spark Post. So I need to get some information from you. Can you go to the chat now? Have you used Spark Post before as a desktop publishing tool? Just give us a yes or a no. I just want to get a quick response from the people that are with me live at the moment. We got a yes from Chloe, we got a no from Mark, we got a no from Eliza, a no from Andy, no from Liliana, and we've got a no from Matthew, no from Cindy, no from Jess. Okay, so it's brand new for just about all of you. Cindy, just remind me, did we do a Spark Post session earlier in the year, or did we leave it until now? If Cindy's still there, she's probably struggling to remember too, because there's been so many different sessions. You think we may have? All right, good. So this is brand new, so that's good for me to know, to make sure that we're just doing the basics. Out of interest, have you used any of the Spark tools, Spark Video or Spark Page? Just give us a yes or a no so I get a response. Any of the Spark tools? Again, lots of no's, but another yes, lots of no's. So this is, there you go. Andy hasn't even heard of them before. Well, welcome, Andy. This is terrific. And we've got a couple of yeses. Terrific. All right, well, let's treat this as brand new for most of you. There's a few ways of getting into Spark. The simplest way, the way that probably most people go with, is to just open up a browser. And I'm going to use Google Chrome. So I'm just going to grab a blank Chrome browser. And that URL that's at the top of the screen, spark.adobe.com, if you type that into the address bar, that'll get you into the login stage. So that's one way of getting into Spark. It's probably the most common, the simplest, and it's probably the way that you'll go. Notice there are two ways of getting in here. You've got the login with the school account, and that's what I'm recommending you try first, and hopefully that will work for you. If it doesn't work for you, have a chat with your IT people about getting you and your students into the system so that it will work and everything will be in-house, so you're not going outside of the school network. Whereas if you logged in with your free Google, Facebook, Apple, or Adobe ID, or if you don't have one, you can create one here. You are going outside the network and you need to be 13 or over to do it that way. But that's two ways of getting into Spark. Let me just quickly show you another way of getting into Spark, which I'm finding more and more common with schools, because a lot of schools are allowing their students and teachers to work with what's called the Adobe Creative Cloud desktop app. And you might find you've already got that because it's how you manage all of your Adobe products. And at the top center of the desktop app is desktop, mobile, and web. And by default, it goes onto desktop, and you can then install or uninstall or open any of the apps that are part of the desktop apps within the Creative Cloud. Or you could be going to the mobile section and sending a link to your mobile device for any of our mobile apps, most of whom are totally free as well. And then you've got your web. Oh, by the way, Spark is also 3 separate mobile apps, but we're not going to be following the mobile version for this session. We're going to be using the web version, and there's Spark Post. You could send a link and then open up Spark Post on your mobile device. Or the web version, you can see there's a tile there that says Spark, and if you click the launch button, that'll get you into Spark without having to log in, because you're already logged in when you're working with the Adobe Creative Cloud desktop app. So there's 2 main ways of getting into Spark. So I'm going to log in now with just the normal Chrome browser, logging with my school account, which happens to be my company account. And I have to go through 2 layers of authentication. So hopefully by now you're in the process of logging in as well. And you'll probably get there quicker than me, because I have to just wait for my phone to buzz to verify that I am who I am. There we go, it's buzzing away. And that should now get me into Adobe Spark. Once you're logged in for a while. If you're using the mobile version, you're actually logged in for over a month. I know that's not really high security, but that's if you are using iPads, for instance, at your school, and you've got your kids logged in, just make sure they log out, especially if it's a shared device, so that they're not looking at each other's work. It's just a little way of managing it. With the web version, it does tend to log you out automatically after your session. Now, the first time you go into Spark, you'll probably have some sort of onboarding information, maybe even a tutorial. It hasn't been a first time for me for a long time, so I'm not quite sure what is there at this stage, but just close that down. What you're looking for is the Spark logo on the top left-hand corner, and below that, a circle with a plus symbol. If you found that, then you're ready to go. If you haven't found that, just try and close whatever onboarding page is there so that you get onto that. Now, I'm not going to go any further until I know that we are all good to go. And just go to the chat now. Give us a yes or a no if you're up to where I am, if you're ready to proceed. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Liliana. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Julie, Abigail. Terrific. So it looks like, of course, there'll be some of you who are just watching on and taking notes, and that's perfectly fine as well. Got someone whose microphone is on at the moment. Did they want to say something, or are they just needing to mute? Looks like we're all good now. Julie, I'll just get you to mute your microphone if you don't mind, and Eliza. Okay, let's start by creating a little poster. As I said before, this is a basic desktop publishing tool, Spark Post. If you click on the plus symbol, you can see there's a range of different things that you can start building straight away. All of them are desktop publishing solutions except for this one and this one. This is a web page option. It allows you to create a Spark page or a web page that you can share with the whole world, or you can just share with the person next to you. It's a brilliant tool. If you haven't experienced it yet, have a play with it in your own time, or look at the tutorial that we did earlier in the year. Cindy, you might want to throw in a link to where they can find those tutorials if they're not already aware. And this one is how to create a video story with Adobe Spark. It's still, after all these years of working with Spark, I still think it's the most simple way to make a video story with voiceovers and music and transitions between sections, moving images, still images, so many different options that you can bring into your video story without needing to know anything about video production. It's not a video editing solution, it's a video storytelling tool. There's a big distinction there. It's not Premiere Rush, which is a basic video editing solution, has a lot more features than Spark Video, or Premiere Pro, which is the ultimate video editing solution. So everything else fits under the banner of Adobe Spark Post. And what I'd like you to do first is we might actually go to this one here called Custom Size Graphic. Click on that option there, Custom Size Graphic, and you can see straight away you can select the size of the product that you're about to create. You might be creating a poster. If I go to the print option, you can see a range of different size options that are quite popular. If you know you're going to print it out in A3, then go with A3 straight away. A4 is there, A5 is there. You could go to some of the social media type sizes if you wanted to as well, or you can go to custom and you can bring in the actual resolution and fine tune that. I'm going to stick with print and A4. That seems to be a fairly common one, and then click next. What's happening now is you'll see a stage appear and then a bunch of tools around the stage. Stage is blank at the moment, but on the left-hand side, there's a series of tools starting from templates right through to libraries. And you can work through these one at a time. Templates are literally templates, and you can start typing in a concept. I'm going to create a little story about creativity, or a little poster about creativity. You can create whatever you want to. So just do a search on a topic that you'd like to create. I'm going to do creativity. And instantly I'm getting a whole range of templates that as I scroll through them, I'm getting some ideas, some inspiration. And if I like one of them, I can just click on it. And then I'm not going to do this now, and I'm going to suggest you don't do this now either. But if I click create from this template, I can then just change the text, change the icon, maybe stick with the background, stick with their design. My poster's made. It's as simple as that. That's the beauty of working with the templates. And there's thousands and thousands of these templates out there. But we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're actually going to create something without a template. So I just want you to be aware that those templates are there to make it quick and simple for you. To close down your templates, below the template is the text option. Click on the text option, and again, there's some more text templates that you can work with. They look pretty cool. You can scroll through. If you like them, you can click on them and work with them. Otherwise, I'm just going to click on Add Your Text. And when you click on Add Your Text, notice a text box appears on your stage. And on the right-hand side, under the heading of Edit Text, is where you can literally go ahead and edit your text. So there's the main text for my poster. And then I can go through and have a look at my color options. And it's suggesting a color palette at the moment. I might just quickly change to there. I can fine tune the colors. If I know the hexadecimal code that I'm supposed to be using for a particular color scheme, I can type it in there. So you've got quite a bit of detail if you want to. You can change the alignment options. There's some nice curved and magnetic alignments you can work with, just in case that appeals to you. And if you don't like what you're selecting, you can always go up to the top center where there's an undo button, or you can click Control Z or Command Z, depending on a Mac or a PC. There's the opacity slider, and then there's some tools like creating a shape behind your text just to make it pop out a little bit more. And of course, you can adjust the colors and the actual shape itself to a different style. Then there is a drop shadow. Just bring in a quick drop shadow, and again, adjust the color if you want to make it a slightly different color. Change the angle of that as well. You've got quite a few options there. And then there's your outline. All the basic things that you're wanting in a desktop publisher are available for you here in Spark Post. I love this tool here called Find a New Style. Every time you click that, it's going to generate another idea for you, another thought, another inspiration, another way of presenting what you have been creating. And you might like it and stick with what they've suggested, or not. You can undo to your heart's content. I quite like what that's come up, so I'm going to stick with that for the moment. Notice that with the text box, I can move it around the screen. I can go to the little handles that are on the corners of the text box to do my scaling. And there's a little rotation tool as well that allows me just to add a little angle to it if that's what I'm looking for. Now that basically sums up the text. Notice as I click away from the text, all those tools are disappearing, ready for me to add some other elements to this particular poster. So just checking the chat, and Cindy and Abigail, if you can keep monitoring the chat to see if there's any questions that come up. Cindy here. Cindy, is Tim using web version or desktop? There isn't a desktop version, Siokran. It is only a web version. or there is the mobile version, which is available on iOS and on Android. So there's no need to download anything unless you're wanting to download it through the Google or the Apple App Store on your mobile device. Andy's saying, love this already. I like hearing that, Andy. That's great. Good to see. And feel free to throw in any questions or even open up your microphone if you want to interrupt me at any point with anything. Oh, poor Damien's left the call. He's obviously wasn't happy, but that happens. That's okay. Right, let's move down. Let's go from text to photos. And when you click on the photos icon below the text icon, this panel appears. This is a common panel to all of the 3 different parts of Spark. So if you've used Spark before, you're probably familiar with it. I love the fact that I can upload any image at all that I've got on my device. I've just got to be careful of a couple of things. First of all, do I own the rights to that image? Is it an image that I've taken? Then that's fine, because you're about to publish this. And then it's a conversation you need to have with your students. Are they just grabbing any image from the internet and then publishing? Because if they are, tell them to stop it now before they get themselves in all sorts of trouble. It's a mindset that we need to try to stop, that people can just grab anything from the internet and then pretend it's theirs. Try to get the kids to only upload images that they have created themselves. That's really important. The other thing to be aware of is if you are going to upload a photo, what's the resolution of that photo? What's the memory size? Like if it's taken with an iPhone, for instance, or a DSLR camera, it could be this massive file size. So if you're trying to bring 3 or 4 of these 5 to 10 megabyte images into your poster, obviously you're going to have issues, because this is an online tool and you want to share it online. You want to have your images as low res as possible. So try to compress before you bring in. Of course, Photoshop is the ultimate solution for that type of purpose. So that's why we've got another few options here. I love the fact we've got Adobe Stock available. And if you click on to Adobe Stock, you can do a search for the free images that are in Adobe Stock. I might do a little search for creativity and just see what comes up. And instantly I'm going to be getting a whole range of different options that are free or previously licensed. In my case, because I've got a paid version of Adobe Stock, I'm getting all the ones that I've already licensed through Adobe Stock. Adobe Stock, if you're not aware, it is a repository of millions and millions of images, of videos, of 3D assets, of music, audio. And I love the fact that I'll be watching the Channel 9 News at 6 o'clock. And virtually every time there's a still image that wasn't taken on the day for a news item, it is from Adobe Stock. And I know Adobe Stock so well now that I can pick and choose. I can tell what's from Adobe Stock and what's not. And often when they're grabbing stock footage now, because they weren't able to get actual footage for a particular story, they're getting it from Adobe Stock. So it's really cool to see that it's being used by Channel 9. The ABC are doing exactly the same. Channel 7, I think they're using another thing. They need to work on what they're using. But these are the ones I've licensed. But hopefully if you do that, you'll just get all the free ones. You can see the ones that don't say license. They're obviously free ones that I could work with and you could work with as well. If that's not successful for you, what you can do at the moment, I'm just going to go out of Adobe Stock. There is an option here called Find Free Photos. When you click on that, it's searching for other royalty-free and Creative Commons images. I'm going to do another search for creativity and see what comes up. Oh, there's my favorite one. My favorite one comes up. I think this is in Unsplash, which is another great source of royalty-free images. So I've clicked on the image and it's appeared in my poster straight away, and I can scale it up and down. Just rework the text, make it a bit smaller. I love this photo. I often use this photo in demos like this because I just love the expression on the faces of these kids. Obviously, they're working with Adobe Spark. I mean, look at them. They're just so engaged in what they're doing. And when I was teaching, classroom teaching, that's the expression that I wanted on all my students. When I was a university lecturer, that's the experience, that's the look in the eyes that I wanted to see from all of my students every day. That's what I aimed for. And I think as educators, we need to try and make sure that our students are getting that aha moment, that love of learning, because it's such an important part of our role to get them used to lifelong learning and having fun. one of my mentors, I met this guy years ago when he was in Melbourne. His name was Seymour Pappett, and I was a young teacher, second year out teacher, I think, when I met him. And he was so inspiring. He invented the constructionist learning theory. He studied under Piaget. He did 3 PhDs under Piaget. It was like amazing guy. And he had this concept of teaching to learn. He said one of the most important things is to encourage every class to have, or every student to have fun, but have hard fun. Make sure they're enjoying what they're doing, but being challenged at the same time. And that's been my philosophy of teaching ever since the early 90s when I started teaching. And that was to make sure that all of my students are having hard fun and being challenged and learning at the same time. I've got my image there. As I click the image, notice on the right-hand side a bunch of new tools appear. I can opaque the image if I want to. I can flip the image horizontally. I can flip it vertically. I can crop and shape the image. I can add some filters to the image if I wanted to, and I've got some other enhancements, blurs and so on. You'll probably also notice right down here, there's a bunch of layers that have appeared. A little bit like Photoshop and Illustrator, if you're familiar with the concept of layers. We're building things on top of each other. So if I did have that text, for instance, there, but I wanted the text to be layered above the image, I just grab that layer, which is the text, and drag it up above, and now I've got it layered in the right position. So that's another tool to be aware of. So I might just do that myself. I'm pretty happy with what I have built so far. What I could do now is go over below photos and go to icons. I love the fact that it starts to search for icons that it thinks are relevant. I don't know why it thought triangle is relevant. It uses a bit of artificial intelligence. It obviously needs a bit of work because I can't see anything that relates to triangle. But I'm going to do a search for create and see what comes up. And literally thousands of icons will appear, and I'll just click on one of them now. And as I click it on, it will start to appear on my stage like an image would, and I can rescale it and position it and move it around. And then change the color. I can fine tune the color. I can make it more opaque, flip it and so on. Lots of different options. Below the icons are design assets, which I don't play with much, but they're really cool. As I've been looking at them, they're under different themes. And as we scroll through, you can see different concepts, like frames, for instance. And if I click more to frames, a whole range of different borders and frames come up that I could potentially bring into my poster and use them. Some of them are better than others, but they're just wonderful to see all these different design assets that are being added to this program. Below that are backgrounds, and if I wanted to, I could just choose any background, again, based on themes, and we could grab, maybe I'll just grab this one. It's a bit psychedelic, but I'll grab it anyway. It's going to appear on my stage as an image, but I'll then spread it across the whole stage, and then move across to the right-hand side where it says Add to Background. Click on that. And now it's in the background. It doesn't look particularly good, but that's how that would work. I'm going to undo that because I don't really want a background. In fact, what I'm really wanting is to keep the white space there because I would like a transparent background, and that's going to be one of your downloading options to make it transparent. So that pretty much covers most of the design side of Adobe Spark. Before we jump into the collaboration side and the exporting side, and then how to turn it into a little animation, which is really cool. I just want to see if there's any questions. Cindy and Abigail, is there anything I need to address that I've missed?
No, all good, Tim.
Does anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts at the moment? All right, I'm going to give you a little challenge. I want you to go to the chat. I want you to give me a 1 or 2 word response to this. What do you think of Spark Post? Quick response. Let's just see what comes up. Oh, Julie says brilliant. Try to choose a different word to someone else. Well done, Chloe. Thank you. Ryan says, love the layers. Excellent. Mark says, easy. It is. Very intuitive. Thanks, Cindy. User-friendly. It is, Abigail. I use it for Christmas stuff around the office. That's more than 2 words, Julie, but I'll let you get away with it. Lana's saying fun. Siokrin's saying smart. Looks great once I get past first base. Are you past first base yet, Heather? Hopefully you're okay. Andy, I like the ease of styles and free photos there. I can't count. Surely. All right. Heather's just watching. That's fine. We are recording this, Heather, and I'm also going to share a link to some tutorials that I've created for teachers that will help you through not just Spark Post, but all of the Spark tools. And Liliana says, awesome. Nice. All right, so we've done a basic design, and I want to refer you to the top right-hand corner where there's a wonderful button here called the Invite button. When you click on the Invite button, it actually allows you to go and email other people who you might want to collaborate with. So this becomes a team effort to build the same project. You can have up to, I don't know if there's any limit, but I've seen, up to 5, 6 or 7 quite successfully working together. Now, it's not a real-time collaboration tool at this stage. It's something we are working on towards. It probably won't be for a while, but if you're logging on at separate times, you can all add to the same project. No one else can publish it except for you, but you can have a team of people contributing to it, which is really cool. And of course, as we all know, collaboration is a vital skill that we should be encouraging in our young people to help them thrive in the future. Such an important skill in all sorts of industries and workplaces. Next to the invite button is the download button. When you click on download, you can see at this stage we've got PNG, JPEG and PDF as options. If I chose PNG, which is a great way of exporting it if I wanted to print it out or if I wanted to have a transparent background. So if I chose start download now, it says, do I want a solid color like white in the background or do I want a transparent background? I'll go transparent. And what's happening now, it's packaging everything that I've built. It's turned it into a transparent background PNG file. To show you what that looks like, I'm going to just jump into my downloads folder. And there it is. I'm going to open that up with Photoshop, where you'll actually see the transparency appearing. Photoshop's opening on a separate screen. I'll just bring that to the shared screen when it becomes available. There it comes. And now you can see how the transparency has been maintained by saving it as a PNG with a transparent background. And that could be really helpful if I wanted to bring that into a website that has a different colored background. I wanted that to be shone through. But that's one option. Then you've got the option of saving it as a JPEG. And this is really handy if you are going to add this poster to an online publication, if you're going to add it to your learning management system, if you're going to send it through the internet to someone, it's best to do it as a JPEG because it's going to be a much lower file size for you. And again, if I go to my downloads folder, I should have 2. I've got now a PNG version and a JPEG version of the same image. And the other option is to download it as a PDF, and that could be helpful as well. Next to download is share. And when you click on share, you find a few options here, like send to Google Drive. That allows you to just make sure you're keeping everything in-house, so you're not going out to the internet, which can be important depending on the acceptable user policies of your individual schools. You could make a template out of it. See a number of teachers doing this. They're creating the beginnings of something, making it a template, getting their kids to open it up and then reworking it that way. So that's quite a handy tool to know about. The invite button is the same as that invite button, but then you've got your publish button. And this is how you can let the whole world know what you've been creating potentially, if you wanted to. So by clicking publish, you can go to your social media options or Google Classrooms, but if you're not a Google school, you could go to Microsoft Teams and again, keep things within Microsoft Teams. Otherwise, email or just generate a link. By clicking the linking tool, I've now created a hyperlink, which is very hard to guess, but if I copy that, I can now maybe paste that into the chat. And if you click on that link that's in the chat now, you'll see my poster because it's now being shared through the cloud. Andy's saying I was thinking that too as we use OneDrive heavily. Good, terrific. And when you've opened up, I'm just going to click the link as well. So I'm now going to look at my poster through a browser. I want you all to hit the appreciate button. Thank you very much, because that's what it deserves. And what I'd like you to do is, if you've been able to keep up with me, is to do the same. Share it and then grab the link, paste the link into the chat, and we'd like to see what you've created. Let's see what people have been able to achieve, and then we'll appreciate what you've been doing too. I'll just give you a few seconds to do that. Abigail is quick off the mark. This is what Abigail has created. Creativity is the key. I'm going to appreciate that. Well done, Abigail. You were so quick there, Abigail. I didn't get a chance to go and set up my little sound effects. So I'm going to quickly find them and look for my applause sound effect and get that ready to applaud you and other people who bring it in. So Abigail, here's your applause. Chloe saying enterprise sharing restrictions enabled. Oh, Chloe. Oh, what a shame. So you can't share in the cloud. Liliana's able to share, which let's have a look at what Liliana has produced. Have a nice day, having fun in everything you do. I'm going to appreciate that, Liliana, and give you a round of applause as well. Well done. Chloe tweeted it out with the Adobe EDU Creative hashtag. Well done. So let me see if I can quickly get into that now. Well done, Chloe. You've obviously been to a few of our sessions before to know that hashtag. Let's see what comes up. Now, of course, I've got to find the hashtag.
Sorry, I should have actually tagged you, Tim.
You should have. Would have made it a lot easier for me.
If only I could edit in Twitter after I posted.
I've got to remember what it is. Let me just bring it up again. It is. Hasn't come up yet, Chloe. Oh well, it might come up eventually. Let's see what Andy has created.
Click on latest, Tim, as opposed to the top tweets. It wouldn't be a top tweet.
It's not the top tweet at the moment. There we go, looking good. Let me open that up. You're giving yourself a round of applause. That's very
terrible. I just think it looks so good. Well, it's funny, yeah.
Everyone is creative, they just don't know it. I love it, Chloe. And obviously you've been watching The Tiger King recently on Netflix. That's been your inspiration.
Oh, that was from an Adobe tutorial I downloaded.
Nice. And this is what Andy created. Well done, Andy. I'm going to appreciate that and give you a round of applause. Creativity and education. Lovely. Let's see what Amanda has created. Christmas! Nice. Coming pretty quickly. Yep, I said too many times. Let's give her a round of applause. Well done, Amanda. What Ryan has created. Oh, Ryan, what's happened here? So Ryan, it looks like it's a rather long URL. So did you actually go to the share option, Ryan, and actually publish it? Or have you grabbed the URL that's at the top of your browser? As it hasn't published properly there, Ryan. Andy's still rough don't judge. I love the possibilities. As a rapid design tool, create a poster in a lesson. Ryan, mine is a bit random. We haven't seen yours yet, Ryan, but hopefully we'll soon. Chloe, Cindy, Abigail, if others from the department are able to share, but it's not, I'm not, is something I need to speak to my IT team about. Okay, I'll get you to sort that one out. Cool. All right, let's move on. Just one other quick thing I wanted to show you with Spark Post before we go to InDesign is that when you click away from anything that you're editing, on the right-hand side, there's a lovely tool here called Animation. Now, when you click on Animation, you've got a bunch of animation tools. Like, for instance, Typewriter will now animate all the text and create a little video that'll just start looping through. And you can see that it probably goes for about 4 or 5 seconds, that little video. Or if you scroll down the different options here, we've got a way of animating your image as well. Zooming and panning or changing the color. I'm going to stick with the typewriter. And as soon as you have added an animation feature, that's what happens when you go to download. You now have the option of downloading it as an MP4 video at a standard high resolution rate. So that's really handy as well. I might just do that now. And now it's packaging everything that I've created as a video. How are you going, Ryan? Have you been able to publish yours yet? Or do you want me to just quickly run through how to do that? Looks like Ryan has disappeared. Oh, Julie's got hers in action. Just won't load the link, says Ryan. You're having some bandwidth issues. Just clicking on Julie's one, hopefully that'll come up in a sec. Yeah, I'm having some bandwidth issues. Julie, yours is also having some issues for some reason, or maybe it's just me. Has anyone else been able to get Julie's? Oh, it looks like it's working a bit better now. Here it comes. Oh my goodness, Julie, lots of text. Secret Santa, Christmas comes at once a year, full of fun, Christmas cheer. I'm not going to read the rest of it, but hey, that's great. Let me appreciate what you've just done there and give you a round of applause. Well done, Julie. Everything's going on a bit of a delay at the moment. Oh, Julie, you cheated. You did that one earlier. You shouldn't have told us. That's really impressive. Okay, so that's enough of Spark Post as a desktop publishing solution, because this session is all about getting you onto InDesign as well. So are there any more questions about Spark Post before I close it down and then start the InDesign session? Cindy, can you just remind me, we've got 45 minutes left in this session, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Terrific. No more questions on Spark Post? What I'll do before we go to InDesign is just share a quick resource with you. This is the set of tutorials that I mentioned earlier. Bring them into the chat for you. The link I'm going to bring into the chat is a slightly different link, but it's to the same resource. And it's a series of little, I call them edu tips, but they're little tutorials that are all based around Adobe Spark, not just Spark Post, but all of the Spark tools. Siokran's asking, can we send it to OneDrive directly? You can send it to Microsoft Teams, but I'm not sure if you can go directly to OneDrive at this point. It's a good question, Siokran. I have never really explored that. Something I'll check. And Julie's giving apologies. No worries. Have a wonderful Christmas. Okay, let's go into InDesign. So with InDesign, when you first open it up, you get a window that looks a bit like this. And straight away, you can go up to start building a new file on the top left-hand corner. But it's often good to jump into the Learn section when you're opening up these professional tools. InDesign is a full high-end professional Adobe tool. It's used by the print industry. It's used, well, just about, I heard a stat not that long ago that 80% of books, magazines, newspapers are actually laid out and published with Adobe InDesign. So it is used at the highest level of the print industry. It's also a great way of making EPUBs or flowable EPUBs for your Android and your iPads. And there's online desktop publishing that you can do through InDesign as well. But it's traditionally known as the print tool for making print and desktop publishing. When you go to the Learn, you can see getting started with InDesign. That'll take you 16 minutes to go through that particular tutorial. Then we've got how to add text and format text, and you can just work your way through the different tutorials to help get you and your students more familiar with Adobe InDesign as a full-on desktop publishing tool. Let's just have a bit of a play with it. Go ahead and click New File. And the window that should appear for you is this one that says New Document. And you can see all the range of, not templates as such, but resolutions more of what you might be wanting to produce. You can have your custom size like we did with Spark Post. A4 is my default because that's what I tend to use most. Otherwise, you can choose A5 and all sorts of recent ones that I've been working with. I could jump into print. And with the print options, you can see not only are we getting the standard print resolutions, but below that are now some templates that we could use that are standard print templates for printing a whole range of different types of flyers and brochures and magazine layouts and all sorts of things. So that's really handy. If you click on any of those templates, you can then just start working with those templates in InDesign. If you go to the Web tab, you can see how InDesign is also used to design a layout for a web page. Getting a little bit of extra noise there. Andy, would you mind muting your microphone? If I can mute him. I think I've muted him. And then there's the mobile option as well next to web, which allows you to create a design for an app, for a phone app or for a tablet app or so on. So you've got all those basic resolutions to work with. Generally, we go to print and we'll go to A4 or we go somewhere like that. So let's do that now. We'll go to print and we'll go to A4. Instantly, we're getting some settings that I generally don't play with at all, but if you know about them, then often you're encouraged to have little spaces around the edge. It gives you a standard width and a height. You can decide, this is important to decide whether you want it to be portrait or landscape. The other day I was creating some certificates and I actually started doing them in another application and it just wasn't working. So I went into InDesign, made sure they were landscape because I wanted them to be a landscape certificate, and it was just worked so much better for me that way. The rest of it I just tend to keep as by default. There's lots of different options here, like the bleeding on your edge if you wanted to do that. If you knew that you had to keep a certain distance between the edge, then that would allow you to do that. Then click Create, and as soon as you've clicked Create, it brings up a blank page with all the tools around it. It used to look a lot more intimidating than this, or even just a few years ago when I first started using InDesign. It was pretty quite intimidating because a lot of these tools that are now hidden in tabs up here, properties, pages, libraries, hyperlinks, were kind of in your face and everywhere. I tended to not use it a lot because it was just too professional. These days they've made it a little bit easier, but keep in mind that a lot of people's livelihoods are based around products design, Premiere Pro, Photoshop, After Effects. So we're not going to dumb it down because we've got other tools that are like Spark Post, for instance, that you can use if you find this too difficult. So this is a professional tool, and you need to let your students know that as they're working through this, they're working with the same tool that's being used by editors who are putting in things for newspapers and books and so on. Let's have a look at the tools. At the top left-hand corner, we've got a selection tool, we've got our direct selection tool, slide in them. We've got a page tool, gap tool, and I have to admit to you, I don't use half of these tools. I just tend to use the ones that are important, like the type tool, set up some text boxes. I use the line tool a fair bit just to create lines and guides. And you've got your pen, similar to Illustrator in that sense. Pencil tool, if I wanted to draw onto it. A rectangle framing tool, so you can sort of frame and lay out everything in advance. Your rectangle tool, scissors tool, and just about everything that you'd need in a professional desktop publishing tool is there. The magnifying glass tool, the zoom tool, is really important to be able to zoom in and just fine-tune things. What we might do first, just go to the text tool. Notice the little arrow that's at the bottom right-hand corner of the type tool. That allows you to, if you click and hold your mouse down, you can see you've got options here of type on a path, if you had a motion path, just in creating typing. Otherwise, I think there's just the standard type tool as well. So we'll just stick with the normal type tool, jump over to our stage, and as we click, we can click, hold, and drag. It creates a text box to the width and the height that you want, and then you can start typing text. As the text is being typed, on the right-hand side, all of your basic text formatting options are available, and there's a lot more than we had in Spark Post, obviously. I'll just type a new line here. So as I highlight that text, I can go in and readjust the fonts based on what fonts I work with. I can readjust the size. I can readjust the distance between each line. And virtually any setting that you want is available to you straight away in what's called the Properties tab. You've got your basic alignment options, quite a range of alignment options. And when you're working with newspapers, they like to justify and make sure that everything is even on both left and right. You'll notice that with columns of text that are all justified. I'm going to keep mine aligned to the left. And then you can fine tune your alignments in all sorts of different ways. The hyphenate button is worth noting because by default it's ticked, which means that as I'm typing away, I'll just type just anything at the moment. See how a hyphen appears if I haven't finished the word? Now that can be a real pain because you might not want those little hyphens there. So just by clicking that hyphenate button, it just takes it away, and now everything's justified to the left. Or if I wanted to, I could justify everything, and that doesn't look very good at all. So I'm going to keep it aligned to the left, probably because I've got too many spaces there. So lots of controls. You've got your bullet and your numbering points, and they're all your basic text properties that you can work with. If I grab the selection tool, I can move that text box around. I can increase the size of it. I can decrease the size of it. I can turn it into a column. And the beauty of working with this desktop publisher is that no matter where you put it, that's where it'll be. A bit different to Microsoft Word, where you haven't got total control over exactly where you want to bring things. You don't really know what it's going to look like. But that's because Microsoft Word is not a desktop publisher. It's a word processor, and there's fundamental differences between the two. So that's the basic text operation. Let's bring in some images just to do something a little bit different. It's weird, but for some reason InDesign have stuck with this for years, ever since it first came out. And that's instead of going File and Insert, it's all about placing, File and Place, which is a common term used in the print industry, and that's why they've maintained it. The shortcut is to go Command or Control D, which will do the same as placing. As soon as you go File and Place, it'll ask you what do you want to place into your document. So I might just quickly grab that poster that I made earlier. So if I go to Downloads and find, say, the JPEG version of that, click Open, I'll get a little thumbnail of it straight away. and I can click, hold and drag so that that image then appears exactly the way I want it to appear. And just be careful, once you've first brought it in, you can move it around and reposition it. But if you grab the corner, you're not actually scaling it at this point. With InDesign, what printers love, and it's not intuitive straight away unless you've been brought up in the print world, is they love to be able to crop things by just dragging. So by default, those corner handles are actually cropping tools. What you've actually got here is two frames. You've got the internal frame, which is the actual picture itself. Then you've got, which I can use, if I bring it in there and click and drag, I can scale and reposition. It changes the resolution a little bit, it goes out of perspective. Unless I hold the shift key, then it'll stay in perfect perspective. But the outer frame, which is there by default, is actually your kind of like a cropping tool, and you can create some really cool shapes by working with it if you wanted to. And that's the beauty of working with InDesign. You can have all sorts of fun with that and rework it. That can be confusing for the kids, and often teachers and students who are using InDesign for the first time, they get thrown by that. A little clue, if you want to make sure you just want to move things around, is you need to select both frames, and then, even then I didn't work. So try and select both frames. Oh, it still didn't work. So another option is to hold your shift and control key at the same time, and then, even that didn't work. What am I doing? Try that again. No, click away, shift, control. No, see, it's all a little bit tricky. Let me just try. For some reason, I'm not able to select both. Probably because I'm in the wrong selection tool. That'll be it. Go to the selection tool here. That's better. So that's the difference between the two selection tools. And if you're not happy with one, the other one should work for you. So the shortcut is to go Shift Command, and that will allow you to move things around the screen. But it doesn't freely move. It moves in a line, either horizontally or vertically, which is really helpful if you're trying to align things. And if you don't hold the Shift and Control or Command key, then you've got a bit more flexibility on where you want to position your images. So that's text and images. What we might do is just pause for a second to see if there's any questions before we just show you a couple of other things, because I'll just see how we're going. Nothing in the chat there. Does anyone have any questions or comments or thoughts at the moment? Looks pretty quiet. All right, I might have a bit of a play. Chloe's saying, love InDesign, my students are so much better than I am. Yeah, that's so true, isn't it, Chloe? They pick these up so quickly. Let's have a play with some of the options within the text. For instance, I might just type a bit of text here and say, Tim's website. Now, if I want to turn that into a button or a hyperlink, because I know I want to create an interactive PDF from this eventually rather than print it out, I could select it, and then I've got the hyperlinks tool as a tab already there. If you don't have it there, you can go to Window up the top center, and you can see all the different options that are ticked or not ticked. So if I go to Tools, and just see, hyperlink is hidden behind interactive. So if I go into interactive, I can see I've got my hyperlinks already ticked, which means it's going to be a tab that I can just regularly access. So if you haven't got your hyperlinks tool, go ahead and activate it. The trick is not to have too many tools activated at one time. And as you go through these different tools, you can see there are so many different aspects to InDesign because it is a professional tool and it's used in so many different ways in different industries. So with that hyperlink tool now activated, I'm going to quickly just jump to my website. which is timkitchen.net. And in the hyperlink tab at the top right-hand corner now, I'm just going to type in, just be careful here, there's a common mistake. If I just paste it straight away, it's going to end up with 2 lots of the HTTP : so // So just be aware when you are bringing in a URL to override the original HTTPS that's there so that you don't double up. And then what's beautiful about this is you get a little green dot if that website is live, if it's working. If that's a red dot, it means something's not right. It means the link isn't right or the website's not active. You get a whole bunch of green dots. So just to confirm that all of your links are actually working for you. So that website is now live and active. So what I could do at this point is go to File and Export and have a look at the different exporting options. By default, probably because I use this all the time, I go to export as an Adobe PDF interactive, which means that all the links will work. It's going to be a PDF document that people can click into, and I'm going to send it that way. Otherwise, I could turn it into an Adobe PDF for print, and that way it's going to be a much more high quality. The links may not be working, but that doesn't matter because it's going to be printed out, and I'll get a much better resolution. I could export this as an EPUB, either fixed layout or reflowable, which means it'll end up becoming like an ebook or an ebook reader, either on your Android device or your iPad or your iPhone, and you can just flow through as if you're doing a mobile publication book. I could export it as an HTML document and then share it so people can read it on a browser. I could export it as an image, as a PNG or as a JPEG. Lots of different options. I'm going to stick with interactive for the moment and just save it onto my desktop. I'll call it test 1 and then click save. It's asking me here about usually I just don't worry about any of this, but there are different ways of adjusting the resolution. If it's not high quality enough, you can go into the compression and rework the compression, upgrade the quality, change it from lossless to lossy if you understand what that compression process is all about. So all those options are there. Even security is interesting. We can bring in a password if you wanted to make sure this is confidential, no one else can see it. All of that's available for you before you export. I'm going to export this now. And it's now generating the PDF. And what happens usually, and it seems to have happened, does it? Yeah, it's opened up in Acrobat as a PDF. And that's what it would look like to the person that I'm sending it to, because Acrobat is my default PDF reader. And you can see if I go and hover over the link, click on the link, it's going to take me straight to my website. And then if I just Alt-Tab, I can get back to my Acrobat version, my PDF. Now, this is great, especially if you're getting your students to create an assessment task and send it to you, because it's now date stamped. They can't make changes to it. So when you do your marking, you're not like marking a live document that they could be changing after you've given the mark. So a lot of teachers, particularly in senior secondary, encourage their students to generate PDFs out of what they've been creating. Even if it's a website that they've built, to use Acrobat to convert that website into a PDF, and therefore it's date stamped, and then they can't make changes and then potentially have issues of saying, yes, but I did change that, but when you sent it in, it was in this date, and this is proof because it's date stamped. Especially if you're doing moderation with other senior secondary teachers, it's a really handy way of sharing assessment tasks. Now we could go on with other things, but I probably covered the basics. Is there anything that you really wanted to know about InDesign? I may not be able to help you, but I'll see, because I tend to only use it for what I've just shown you. There's a bunch of things I could show you what I've been creating recently, but they're all confidential at the moment. They're all sort of brand new things that we're not allowed to talk about, so I can't show you what my latest work has been. until later in the year when we make some new announcements. Tell me, do we have any questions? Feel free to open up your microphone or go to the chat. Is there anything you really want to know about InDesign that I haven't shown you?
I think what I find with InDesign is that I don't use it regularly enough. So often, like, my students will want to do things with it, and then I have to really think hard about things to help them. One of my students, she made this really interesting CD booklet for her photography class this year, and she said, how can I get a really good mark for it? And I said, well, you need to do it in InDesign. And she did, and it turned out brilliantly, but she just fumbled her way through. I helped her with what I knew and was very embarrassed, but she thought I was brilliant. So take it to me, mate.
Oh, that's great. And there's so many great tutorials out there to help the students. And you often find the students just get better and better at it because they've got more time to play with it. Let me just quickly play this little clip here. This is a bit old now. This is the old branding of InDesign, but it gives you a sense of what it can do.
Adobe InDesign CC is the industry standard app for publishing projects ranging from all types of print projects to digital publications that you can view on any web browser. Create print projects like stationery, printed books, brochures, annual reports, posters, and more. And now InDesign allows us to publish interactive publications such as digital magazines, iPad apps, interactive PDFs, ebooks, and interactive online documents. InDesign's flexible workflow integrates with Adobe's suite of mobile applications, which allows us, for example, to start designing a layout on a mobile device using Adobe Comp CC and send it straight over to InDesign on our computer with just a couple taps. InDesign now provides us with a host of tools for creating rich layouts. Create multi-column pages with text and graphics, include vector graphics from apps like Illustrator CC and Capture CC, and place raster images from Photoshop CC and Adobe Stock. Adobe Stock is a vast library of millions of world-class royalty-free images, searchable directly from within Creative Cloud applications like InDesign. It's never been easier to find, license, and place images in your document, all the while keeping your assets organized and consolidated. In addition to Adobe Stock, we can also save our own artwork in Creative Cloud libraries, so we can easily reuse graphics, text styles, and colors in any InDesign document, as well as in other Adobe desktop and mobile apps. Next, use professional typesetting tools to implement strong typography consistently throughout your entire document. Create and apply styles to instantly change the appearance of your document, and wrap text around objects with just a click. Then, easily create tables to keep tabular data organized and beautiful. Also within InDesign, we have access to thousands of additional fonts from the Typekit library, all included as part of your Creative Cloud membership. When you're ready to hand off your document for commercial printing, it takes just a few moments to pre-flight documents quickly and accurately. We can package files with just a few clicks to easily gather all the document components required for handoff, or just export your file as a PDF for print. Then create interactive documents that include audio, video, slideshows, and HTML content. Create digital publications to view on a wide variety of tablet and mobile devices, save as EPUBs, fixed layout, or reflowable, and distribute across many ebook marketplaces. You can also convert any InDesign document into an online digital publication in just a couple of steps, which can be shared through a public link or embedded in your blog or website. Whether you're a print, web, or interactive designer, InDesign has the tools you need to design and publish high-quality documents across a full spectrum of both digital and print media.
There you go. Much more detail within there. Cindy saying she has to head off. All right. Well, I think we've covered just about everything. I want to share some resources with you that will help you not just with InDesign, but with all the Adobe products too. So this one's a really important one. This is called the Adobe Help Center. And I might just go live into it and then bring up the link into the chat. So the link is helpx.adobe.com, helpx.adobe.com. I'll put that into the chat for you. And when you go into the Adobe Help Center, the first thing that comes up is a page that asks you what application are you wanting help with. And there are featured products right from the start, and obviously InDesign isn't requested as a featured product, so you'll need to jump into the All option, All A to Z, and then you can see the full range of Adobe Creative Cloud applications where InDesign will be sitting. click on InDesign or whichever application it is you want support with or help, and then go to the tutorials section. And this is fabulous because I think they're very similar to the ones I showed you earlier with the Learn button within the app. Yeah, you can see similar. They're probably exactly the same actually in terms of the tutorials. But this is a way of getting tutorials and support and help with every Adobe application within the Adobe Creative Cloud. So that's a really good resource for you. Another resource that I want to share with you is, in fact, I'm not going to share it with you. I'm going to get Rob the robot to share it with you. Now, some of you would be familiar with Rob because he is my personal assistant and he helps me out with lots of things. Rob and I created this video in about 40 minutes because we used Adobe Character Animator, real-time animation. So that allowed me to track my face with just a normal webcam. And as I moved my head, then Rob's head would move. As I blinked, Rob would blink. As I talked, my voice was recorded and Rob's mouth would open and close. And then the arms would be moved with just the mouse, although the latest version of Character Animator allows me to actually move my arms and it tracks my whole body as well, which is really, really cool. But this is Rob the robot sharing some key resources. As he does, I'll throw them into the chat for you. Over to you, Rob.
Hi there, it's Rob the robot here from the Adobe Education. Thank you for being involved with this Adobe in Education event. On behalf of the team, I would like to share some follow-up resources that will not only benefit you, but also your colleagues and wider education networks. Use this QR code or link to find out more about the Adobe Creative Educator Program. This is a badging program that involves multiple levels. To obtain the Level 1 badge, you need to do the Creativity for All course on the Adobe Education Exchange. The focus of this course is creativity in education rather than Adobe. You don't need to be an Adobe expert or even a regular Adobe user to get your Level 1 badge. Inject Creativity Live is a live and on-demand show on the Adobe for Education YouTube channel. It is recorded every second Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Time during the school terms. Each show features a practical demo from a teacher who is an Adobe education leader. The demo is of a practical Adobe application and how that teacher is using it in the classroom. Each show also features a thought piece from a leading education thought leader. The show also features me. Let your colleagues know about Inject Creativity Live and join the live audience every second Wednesday night. This QR and link take you to our contact form. Use this form to make sure you are on the email lists for our monthly updates for Australasian teachers. This QR and link takes you to the Australasian Adobe in Education coming events site to keep you and your colleagues informed with the wide range of professional learning opportunities that are freely available to all educators in any curriculum area and level. We hope you enjoyed this session. Please do share what you've learned with your colleagues and wider education networks, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.
Thanks, Rob. Now, he didn't mention one resource because this is a relatively new one. It's called the Adobe Teach Meets program. Chloe, you were at the Teach Meet, weren't you? You did an InDesign workshop with it.
That was last week. I did it in Photoshop.
Oh, right, terrific. And do you want to explain the concept of the Teach Meets from your perspective?
It's a really great way to learn some little extra things. So they've got the Adobe educators who are very skilled and use it in their different schools throughout Australia, and you get to pick which one of the sessions that you want to do from the list for the Teach Meet, and then you go off into your little groups and you have a session with that person, and sometimes it might be one-on-one or there might be a few more in the group, but it's a really good way to learn in a nice small group online setting.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better myself, Chloe. Well done. So we did 2 lots of Teach Meets in November. The next lot will be in February. So the adobe.ly/teachmeets site will give you more information on that. You do need to register. It's not recorded. although we're weighing up whether we might record just the opening session where you get a brief from all of the presenters, but we can't record all the breakouts. So the idea is for you to be there live. And we do run them at 4 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, which is 3:30 your time. So it might be a bit of a challenge, but the actual workshops don't generally start until about 20 minutes after we've kicked off anyway. So it's not too bad for South Australia. Pretty bad for Western Australia, but it's not too bad for South Australia. We've mentioned the Creative Educator Program a few times, or Rob mentioned it just recently, and this is a program, Chloe, I'll put you on the spot, but have you had a go at this yet? Have you looked at it?
Yes, I finally got it. It took me a little while to find the time, but it's so worth it, and I want to do the second one now, so I've got my ACE level 1.
Excellent. That's good to hear. I'm glad I put you on the spot. That's great. We've just hit over 40,000 teachers who have now enrolled in the program, which is lovely, and we want to get as many through level 1 as possible. In fact, I don't know if you'd agree with me, Chloe, here, but I think every teacher should do at least level 1, just because it's not about Adobe, it's about creativity. Would you? Yeah, she's nodding her head.
100% agree, 100% agree. And I wish that there was so much more in school. Like when Sir Ken Robertson passed away, he would love what Adobe does because he loves creativity. Yeah, Adobe is brilliant.
We did a lot of work with Sir Ken. In fact, we've dedicated a whole section of our Adobe for Education YouTube channel, which I will bring into the chat as well, because that is a wonderful resource. Find it, Adobe for Education YouTube channel, here it is. And we dedicated a whole section on the Adobe, on that YouTube channel, to Sir Ken Robinson and the work that we've done with him over the years. There we go, that's coming through now. There's a course that I do run, and just ignore those dates that are at the bottom because they're old dates, but the next one will be in February. This is a course that guides teachers through level 1. In case you don't want to do it on your own, if you want to do it with a group of other people, and have myself and Erin Raithke, who I work with, to help you guide through the program, then we're happy to do that with you. Offer that course around about once a month. The next opportunity will be in February. So I'll bring that into the chat as well. Be a Creative Educator Program. That's coming into the chat now. There we go. And I think that's about it. Just want to push this. We did Adobe Max last month. It's a big conference that we do every year for creatives around the globe. Normally we get 15 to 20,000 of the world's digital creatives in Los Angeles for a big conference. And I've been to one of those events and it was just awesome, blew me away. We get incredible artists coming in to share their experiences. The most recent one was Billie Eilish, to have her come in and talk about how she uses our tools in her creative workflow. And at the time, I think she was only about 18 years old. She's not much older now. In fact, I think she's only just about to turn 20, which is just amazing considering what she's been able to do. But Ron Howard, he struck me. Like when I heard him there on stage, there was Ron Howard and I used to watch Happy Days every night when I was a kid, to see the work that he's been doing and the way that I'll never forget what he said. Actually, I've just forgotten. No, he said, Adobe has been able to help me realize what I wanted to have on the screen in a much more realistic and effective way, or words to that effect. Whereas in the past, he used to have to work really hard to try and get his vision onto the screen. But now with Adobe's tools, he can get exactly what he wants onto the screen. And I thought that was really powerful to hear from someone like him, who's had this lifetime of experience in the creative world. So there's a whole lot of sessions about Adobe Max that were just focused on educators and education. And it was terrific to get that lots of education sessions in Max. And this year at Adobe Max, I've got the link here, I'll just bring that into the chat. They asked me to present too, and I did a presentation on Character Animator with a New South Wales teacher and also a teacher from Los Angeles. And it was terrific to have that opportunity. And I think for me, it'll be something I'll look back on in years to come as a highlight of my career, to actually present at an event like Adobe Max, which we're about to hit 5 million hits. 5 million creatives from around the world can now get into and watch these sorts of things, which is really cool. So folks, that is it. I know we're finishing a little bit early. Matthew has to fly. Thank you, Matthew. I'm going to stop the recording and send it off to Cindy. I'm happy to hang around a little while if anyone wants to have a chat about anything. But thank you for being part of this session. And, oh, yes, all right, Abigail, the certificates. Thank you for reminding me. There's a little quote from Sir Ken, too, I like to present. We don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it, or rather we get educated out. Really important as us as educators that we try to avoid that happening if at all possible. There is the QR code for our contact form, our newsletter. If you're not already on our newsletter, then that'll get you onto it. And there's the feedback link, which Abigail has brought into the chat as well to get you, I think you get a certificate from doing that as well if you do the feedback, which would be terrific. And for those watching the recording, I'm about to stop the recording. Those with us live, I'm happy to hang around for a little while. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.